Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are, wherever you are. Guten Tag, guten Morgen, Ohayo gozaimasu. Ni hao, annyeonghaseyo, ewan ko sayo. So, hello everybody, and welcome to Introduction to Game Programming. I will be your professor for this lab activity. My name is Midnight Raccoon, but you may address me as Sir Knight. But I am not a knight. Okay, so what I will be doing today? Today, we will be creating your very first game in Game Maker Studio 2. And it's going to be very fun because we're going to create something like an homage to a classic. Have you ever heard of the game Berzerk? Berzerk is a legendary multi-directional maze shooter arcade game released back in November 1980. So it was in the 80s. It was made by Stern Electronics and designed by Alan McNeil. It was celebrated as one of those influential titles of the golden age of arcade games. So I don't know if you guys have played that game. It is actually made by Alan McNeil. So if you go out and look at this video right here, this is Berzerk in the Atari 2600. Or, yeah. So basically, this is what we will be creating, or something similar to this. We're going to create an homage to this. So basically, you have your player character, which goes around this maze area, and he goes around, he goes on a berserk, and he tries to shoot down all of the enemies. So there are multiple variations of this game all throughout the years, but we will be creating something very much similar to it. So if you guys want to check out the gameplay video, do check out this gameplay video by Mockduck Plays Games. Alright? I'll put the link in the description box so that you guys can check it out for yourself. Alright, so what do we need to do to create this game? Okay, so we're going to create this, we're gonna create this game called Berzers, which is very much an homage. Think of it as honoring the original thing while learning how to create something similar to it. But we will create a spin, add something unique to it so that we can make it a little bit more fun. All right? Okay, so this game, Berzers, what do we need to create this game? So first, we're going to need the player character, right? Right, and we're also gonna need some walls. And then we also gonna need some enemies. And sorry, M&Ms. Yeah, M&Ms. All right, so we have a player, we have walls, enemies. How about we add some coins? Maybe something like a supply crate so that you can get something like a weapon or ammo. And then finally, maybe something like a timer system. And if we do have extra time, we could implement something like a boss. In the actual original game, there was this boss called Evil Otto, which is an evil smiley face, which is kind of weird, but yeah. So let us begin. Okay, so whenever we're trying to make games, we are trying to figure out how to create a system, right? We're trying to figure out some game mechanics. We're trying to figure out what kind of gameplay that we want to give the player. So in the original Berserk game, it's kind of like something like it's action packed in a way because you're basically like trying to shoot down these enemies who are trying to gun you down, and whenever like your bullets hit the walls, of course it dissolves. If it hits an enemy, the enemy dissolves or the enemy dies, and it increases your score, right? Okay, there we go. And they are like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is like a roguelike, or it's got some randomized levels. That's also something that we can do, something that we can program. Or if you guys want to, you can create a level that is static. All right. But basically, if the enemies shoot you, you lose a life. You have something like a life bar over here, or like a bunch of lives, and if you lose all of your lives, of course, it's game over. All right. Okay. So we have the player, we have the walls, enemies, coins, supply ammo. We got. We were thinking of adding a timer to make it more manic, and then add the boss. So the boss is an optional thing. So it's not gonna be. I'm not gonna. If this is like your first time in using Game Maker, this thing is completely optional, and the timer would be very optional as well. All right. So this might be a very long video. So I'm also going to cut this so that you guys can try to have a shorter video overall, and you will be able to like check out the stuff a little bit. So feel free to pause the video if ever that you guys wanna check out the code. I'll be having you're gonna have handouts for this. Don't worry about it. You can copy paste the code snippets so that you can like just focus on creating your first game without having to worry about the code. But don't worry, another professor will be teaching you how to use Game Maker Studio. So don't worry about that. Just focus on enjoying the game creation process for now, okay? And I hope you guys learned something new today, and I hope you can implement this. And maybe if you can try to even give it a spin or make a spin off, change some mechanics, maybe make the player faster or something. Yeah, right. So let's start with our first project. Okay, so how do we create our first project in Game Maker Studio? So you open it up. I have this on Steam. I'm not sure if you can still download this on Steam, but I do have it on Steam. So this is a Steam version of Game Maker Studio 2. So I'm going to press the new, and I'm going to press game. So these are a lot of some example projects that you can also try out if you have free time. Feel free to do so. Feel free to try out and do some experiments. But for now, we're just going to create a game. Okay, so we're going to create a blank pixel game. All right, so this is going to be something. Uh, so the difference with this is this has image smoothing disabled by default. So this is going to make our pixel art a little bit more crisp than normal. So this is pretty much configured for pixel art sort of games. So we're gonna use this one, okay? And we're gonna name it Bergzer. Just kidding. What did you call it again? Bergzers. Yeah, Bergzers. And you guys, because this is going to be your lab activity, you simply have to put in your last name and then type in lab activity and then underscore one. Okay, save it on your computer, or if you're using your Mac right now, just save it on your Mac somewhere that you can access it later. All right. Okay, but for now, I'm just gonna call this Bergzers. All right, let's go. So it's downloading the template, and all right, so we have the project tool that's actually showing the output of the game stuff that's loading in the background. Okay, and we will go in a little bit deeper to, well, your other professor will go deeper into these menus later. But for now, we're just gonna focus on the actual game itself. All right. So if you want, you could check out these menus. If you want, you can see that there's some helpful tooltips over here so that you can get acquainted with Game Maker Studio 2. If this is your first time using a game engine, don't worry. It might look very overwhelming, but it's going to get easier and easier as long as you keep using it. All right. All right, let's get started. So, you can close this welcome tab if you're already done exploring stuff. Okay, so what is our workflow for Game Maker Studio? Okay, so basically in Game Maker Studio, we have these assets here, which we will be using to include or add things to our game. Okay, so basically we have here stuff like game options, prefabs, tags, stuff like that. And we have here our room one. This is going to be like our first ever room. All right, but as you can see here, it's weird that there are no objects or sprites. Sprites are basically in-game representation of game art for your game. So what we're going to do is we're going to press this plus button, and we're going to create here a sprite. All right. So we're going to click on sprite, and we're going to click on create. I'm going to create one. Okay, so we're gonna name this. This is a game maker convention thing. So if you're gonna create a sprite, name it SPR, and we're gonna call this a player sprite. Okay. So since we're pretty much focusing more on the theoretical part, I'm not gonna make this into much of a complete art video. We're going to have a better one in the future, but for now, let's just try to create something. So basically, this is the sprite editor. There's a lot of stuff here, but don't worry too much because we're just like I said, your other professor is going to go deeper into this, and you'll understand what these controls and what of these stuff are. Yeah, just for now, feel free to draw your own character. It's up to you. I'm just gonna draw a guy, an orange guy, because I like Carl Orange. All right, and it'd be like that. All right, so he's not purple guy, he's orange guy. Right, so we have here the orange guy. So it doesn't have to be pixel perfect because this is like, yeah, this is your first game. So don't worry about the art too much. All right. Okay, and I'm gonna save this. To save your game, simply just press Control S. If it's Mac, I think it's if I'm not mistaken, it's Command S. And then we're gonna save a project. If if you're Windows, just Control S or Windows. Okay, and then let's create like the enemies. All right. So I'm gonna close this one. Create a new sprite. So what I did is I pressed on right click, create, and then sprite. So you could press this button over here, the big plus one, or you can actually just press right click and then you can create a sprite over here. Don't worry, in the future you'll also be able to import sprites. Okay, just for now we're just trying to get trying to understand this. Okay, so this is going to be the sprite wall. So we're gonna edit the image. Just press edit image, and we're going to create the wall here. All right. So for the wall, let's make it a little bit visible, a little bit uh, tangible. So I'm gonna make it something like not too red. How about so the original game, if I'm not mistaken, it's got like blue walls. So that's not a problem. It's a thing. It's one of those design things back in the day. How about we do something like white? All right, let's do something as simple as white. Okay, we're going to make this as all right, or maybe we can actually like cover this up. Okay, or here's what I'm gonna do because Game Maker relies on something like a little bit of pixel perfect tiling, but you can turn that off in the settings. I'm gonna change this a little bit, edit the image. Yeah, okay, we're gonna go to the property. Sorry, that did nothing. Okay, we're going to change this one, the sprite size. We're gonna make this into something more, a little bit smaller. We're gonna make this 32 by 32. All right, just to make it more manageable. Okay, so it's actually, yeah, what happened? Current 32 by 32, yeah. Okay, yeah. So we apply that, and basically we got a 32 by 32 canvas, and I'm going to make this into an entire white wall, all right? And something that we should also not forget is the origin of the sprite. So after we exit this, just press this one, the origin. We're gonna click this to be middle center. All right. So this is going to help us later in the tile editor. And I'm gonna go back to the sprite player. I forgot to add in top center for this one. Sorry, I mean middle center. Okay, so this player is also a little bit too big, so why don't we just change it a little bit to make it a bit smaller, right? So I'm going to press on the size, and I'm going to change this. All right, so it got a little bit smaller. It's now 32 by 32, and if you want, you can adjust it a little bit. Up to you. So I'm gonna make this player character a little bit smaller. And what I'm doing is I'm pressing holding control or maybe command in the Mac to like use the eyedropper thing so that you can select color and then simply press on the your left mouse button to press or like paint. All right. Okay, something like that. Okay, it doesn't seem to be standing, so I'm gonna use the rectangle selection tool to move the head a little bit like that. All right, and I'm going to select this, and I'm gonna press delete. All right, there you go. It's basically like paint. Okay, and I'm going to remove this part of their shoulder to make them a little bit better. All right. Okay, so that's pretty much it. All right, and now let's try to create the enemy character. So this is already at the origin middle center. Now we're going to create the sprite for the enemy. And obviously, just like before, name it sprite, SPR, and then call this one enemy. Okay? And then we're going to change the, yeah, we can actually change it here on the left side. Change the sprite size to 32 by 32. In order to open that again, that's basically like the size. You press this button. It's called resize the sprite, and then make it 32 by 32. All right. Okay. Now we're going to edit it. Edit image, and then it's going to open this up. So it wasn't. It was in the original game. It's like a yellow, like that actually kind of looks like a Starman. Starman, if you know, Homebound, or I think it was called the Earth Games or Mother Games series, I think. Yeah, so we're gonna make this one red just so that it stands out a little bit more. It's up to you to create your enemy character. I'm gonna make it like a evil robot, you know, like a futuristic sciency sort of thing. Also, if the music is a little bit too loud, do let me know in the future if you guys prefer having music in the background or not. So just let me know, chat. Okay. I can actually use this fill tool to fill up some of the gaps in the drawing or the painting. All right. And I'm going to like extend this a little bit down so it's a bipedal evil robot thing. And then maybe we can change the color a little bit of the maybe we can make it something like yellow, yeah. So I'm basically using like primary colors just to keep it simple. But it's up to you guys if you want to change it, you know, feel free to do so. I'm gonna make it like something like this. Right? Okay, so give it like a angry face or something. It's like a angry bad dude, you know? So that's what it looks like, and I can change this a little bit to give it something like, like a gun hands or something. Yeah, this is a nice track. By the way, the music is provided by The Relaxed Movement. 12 hours of lo-fi beats, copyright-free music / royalty-free music. So thank you for that, uh, Relaxed Movement. I guess that's sort of like relaxing, I suppose. Okay, and then I'm going to maybe remove this a little bit. Okay. And maybe add in a little bit more. Oh, yeah, sorry. Press this one, brush tool. There we go. A little bit more. I'd say it's a little bit more balanced. Does this convey anger? Angry guy? Yeah, I guess so. Alright. I guess that's pretty much it. Let's keep it simple for now. Because this isn't an art video. Alright. Okay, so basically we have the enemy sprite, we have the player sprite, and we have a wall. Alright? Alright. So, now we go to our room. This is going to be like our main level. So let's call this level 1. Or in Game Maker conventions, we call this RM. and then whatever we want to call it. I'm gonna call this RM1 because it's gonna be room 1. Right, lovely. Okay, but the problem is we can't drag and drop sprites to this to the room yet because it's not an object. If you try to do that, it's going to say this asset can only be applied to an asset layer, and you do not currently have one selected. So we're not gonna do that. We're going to create an object because basically this is just a sprite, and it basically doesn't do anything. It's just a sprite. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an object. So we just right click here on the asset browser, or you can press this plus button and just simply select objects. Okay. And then we're going to press create. All right. I'm going to name this obj player. So this is the player object. So if you can look at this UI, it's very cool. It's very interesting and very it has a nice feel to it, doesn't it? Somewhat reminds me of the nodes in Unity. So I'm going to press on this button. It says no sprite, and then I'm gonna press sprite player. So that's going to be our player. All right. And then for now, we're not gonna add any events to it just yet. Okay. We're just going to create some objects and then put up the sprites inside those objects for now. All right. So I'm gonna right click again and I'm going to create a new object and call this one obj wall. All right. So just to be consistent, I'm capitalizing like the first letter of like the object or the sprite. So if you wanna be consistent with your conventions, feel free to do so. But Unity's a little, I wouldn't say it's too strict. Sorry, I mean Unity. I mean Game Maker. Game Maker isn't too strict about this, but it would be very good if you guys were to get used to normal conventions. Because in the future, when you start using Unity or other game engines, they're going to scream at you for having a wrong spelling of your assets. Right? So it's better to be acquainted with these good old habits so that in the future it'll be a breeze for you guys. Okay, I'm going to create another object and call it the enemy object. Okay, and I'm going to click on it and I'm going to press on sprite enemy. Okay, so for now we already have these 3 objects, but they don't do anything. We can actually go to our first room and then we can drag them down. So we have here our player sprite, and we have sorry. Now we shouldn't be we shouldn't be dragging down the sprites. We should be dragging down the objects. Okay, in order for us to not be confused, because I'm clearly confused, we're going to create a new folder. In Game Maker Studio, it's called the group, and you can create one by pressing this plus button. Create something like uh-huh. It's missing. I know it's here somewhere. Oh, okay. Here we go. Sorry. You just right click and press create group. And we're going to call this group sprites. So that we can tidy up our assets window. Because in the future, if you're going to create more and more assets and more stuff, this is gonna get cluttered real quick. So we gotta make sure it's organized. A little bit of housekeeping is very helpful for us. Then we're going to create another group and I'm gonna call it objects. So the group is very helpful to organize things. So you can, open and close this. Right, now we can actually just drag in the object enemy, player, and walls. But for now, it would be better if we are also acquainted with the layers that we have here in the room. So basically, we have asset instances. Asset instances allow us to uh, modify where the assets or the instances are. The assets are basically for the sprites and stuff, and the instances are for the objects. All right. So this is an instant layer. Excuse me. This is an instance layer, and we're gonna drag in the objects here. All right, so it doesn't throw us a warning. But if you try to click on like the assets and then you try to drag this, I think it's gonna cause an error. Yeah, it's gonna cause an error like this. So we don't want that to happen. Just press cancel, go and click the instances layer. Remember to add your objects here in the instances layer, okay? And then you can also add the object player here and then the object wall. All right. So as you can see here, tiling is the object that we're trying to move around is snapping to the tiles. So that's actually pretty helpful, especially if you want like smooth or like consistent tiling. But you can actually try to toggle the grid off, or a better thing you can do is you can try to change like the tiling for the room. I know it's around here somewhere. If we go to room 1 and we're gonna check out the... Okay, do we have an... it does have a line here. Okay, so I think we're looking at the instances, but we gotta make sure like the grid is what we are selecting. Okay, so if I click on room 1, it's gonna go and create this one. Also, let's try to adjust the size of the room because I think this is a little bit too big. Let's do something like I don't know, maybe something like 900 by 450. So this is going to be a little bit smaller, but it's a little bit more manageable than normal, right? So it isn't exactly aspect ratio. Let's go back to instances and move these things around. Okay. And then how exactly do we set up the grid again? I forgot how we do that. Hmm. Yeah, we have here layers. We turn off the grid. Is it still gonna snap around? Okay, we turned off the grid and it's not snapping anymore. So I think that's something that we can pretty much do. All right, and then we can add more walls if you want. Just simply drag in the object. But what I like to do, what's flexible with Game Maker Studio, is you can actually like change the size of objects. I would recommend you do this in your later games if these actually have like actual pixels and actual art, because it's going to mess up the the ratio, or like the... Yeah, it's gonna mess up your pixel art. So I wouldn't recommend doing this in a game where like the objects part, or basically the instance that you're trying to do is um, it has some pixel art in it. What you can also do is you can press shift and then hold... Oh wait, I think it was control. Was it control or was it sorry, it's alt, and you can just basically do something like that, which will generate a bunch of walls. But this isn't very efficient in the future. We want to avoid having too many instances of something. So as you can see here, like stretching and squashing the wall is a little bit more efficient in this case. So we'll do just that. Okay, so we're basically adding some walls to this game, to this level. But as you guys know, there's still there we don't have any events yet. So basically, when we play this game, nothing is going to happen. Okay. By the way, to play your game or to test your game, simply press F5 or run. It's here on the top, somewhere around here under the tools menu, and then it's going to compile. So it might take a little while, but personally, I think this is a little bit more faster than Unity. I'm not sure exactly. All right, so there we go, and we have here our game of Berzerk. Bergzers. Bergerzerk. And nothing is happening, obviously, because we haven't added any code to it. But as you can see here, we do have the player and there are some enemies. Okay? How about we try zooming in a little bit? In order for us to do that, we simply have to go to, like, click on the room again. and we're going to go to viewports and cameras, and we're going to enable viewports. Okay? And what we're going to do, we're going to select one of the viewports, and we're going to follow the player object, and then we're going to change this to something a little bit smaller. Let's say, uh, hmm, what's a good ratio? Usually we have 16,000 by 900, right? That's our normal ratio. So if we do half that, 450, I think that would be a good viewport. And if we run the game, yeah, as you can see here, it's a little bit zoomed in. So nothing's gonna happen yet. Still, we're just adjusting the camera a little bit. But once our player starts to move, the camera is going to move with the player. So it's basically locking on the player. And if when we start programming it to move, the camera is going to pan towards the player. All right. Okay, so we basically have our enemy, we basically have our player character, but nothing is happening. So let's go try programming this so that we can, start making things a little bit more interesting. Okay, so I'm going to cut the video here, and in the next video, you're going to be learning how to program your player object, add in a little bit of enemy AI, and then make some collisions work so that the player doesn't go through the walls. All right, that's going to be the next goal for our next video. But thank you so much for watching for now, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye!